Own every conversation with a man begins, long before words are spoken. It begins in your breath, in your posture, in the silent discipline of your mind. Most people think conversations are about talking. No, conversations are about presence. When you enter a space with scattered energy, you have already lost. But when you arrive grounded, calm, and aware, you shift the entire field without saying a single word. A man does not chase validation through his voice. He commands respect through stillness. Observe carefully. The one who speaks less but listens deeply controls the rhythm. The one who reacts emotionally gives away power. So you must train yourself to remain centered. When emotions rise, you do not suppress them. You master them. You allow them to pass like clouds while your awareness stays clear like the sky. Most conversations fail because people try to win, but winning is not control. Control is clarity. If your intention is pure and your mind is steady, your words will carry weight. Speak slowly. Speak with purpose. Each word must come from awareness, not from impulse. This is how influence is built, not through force, but through precision. Do not fear silence. Silence is not weakness. Silence is a weapon of the disciplined. When you are silent, you observe. When you observe, you understand. And when you understand, you respond with accuracy. This is how you lead without effort. A man who owns every conversation does not seek approval. He knows his value. He does not interrupt to prove himself. He does not raise his voice to dominate. He does not argue to protect his ego. Instead, he remains grounded, speaks with intention, and listens with full attention. Master your breath, because everything begins here. Before the words, before the reactions, before the need to respond, there is the breath. And if the breath is unstable, the mind will be unstable. If the mind is unstable, your presence will be weak. Then no matter how strong your words sound, they will carry no weight. And when you enter a conversation, most people are already lost in their thoughts. Their breathing becomes shallow, fast, almost invisible. They are not aware of it, yet it controls everything. Their tone becomes rushed, their body becomes tense, and their reactions become automatic. This is how control is lost without even realizing it. But you must be different. You must train yourself to return to the breath. Slow it down. Feel it. Let it anchor you into the present moment. When your breath is deep and steady, your mind follows. Thoughts become clearer. Emotions settle. Your awareness sharpens. And suddenly you are no longer reacting. You are observing. In conversation, this changes everything. When someone speaks with intensity, your natural instinct is to match that intensity, to react, to defend, to interrupt. But when you are connected to your breath, you create space. In that space, you have a choice. You are no longer controlled by the situation. You remain grounded. Okay? A calm breath creates a calm presence. And a calm presence influences others more than loud words ever could. People can feel it. Even if they do not understand it, they sense it. They begin to slow down. Their energy adjusts to yours. This is quiet control. This is power without force. Do not underestimate this. Many try to control conversations by speaking more, by thinking faster, by pushing harder. But this only creates tension. True control comes from stability. And stability begins with the breath. There will be moments when pressure rises, difficult questions, strong personalities, situations where your ego wants to react. In those moments, return to the breath. One slow inhale. One controlled exhale. This is enough to bring you back. This is enough to prevent you from losing yourself. With practice, this becomes natural. You will notice that you no longer rush to speak. You allow others to finish. You listen without preparing your response. Your words become fewer, but stronger, because they come from a place of awareness, not from a place of noise. Your posture will change. Your voice will carry more depth. Your eyes will remain steady. All of this comes from something so simple yet so powerful, the breath. And understand this clearly. Mastering your breath is not only for conversation, it is the foundation of self-mastery. If you cannot control your breath, you cannot control your state. And if you cannot control your state, you cannot control your presence. So train it in silence, in stillness, every day, not only when you need it. Because in the moment of challenge, you will not suddenly become calm. You will rely on what you have practiced. When you walk into any conversation with a steady breath, you are already prepared. You are already centered. And from that center, everything you say will carry clarity and purpose. Control the breath, and you control the moment. Stay grounded in presence, because this is where true connection and quiet authority are formed. Most people are physically in a conversation, but mentally they are somewhere else, thinking about what to say next, worrying about how they are being perceived, replaying past moments, or anticipating future outcomes. This scattered attention weakens everything. When your mind is divided, your presence disappears. And when your presence disappears, your words lose their power. To stay grounded means to be fully here. Not partially, not distracted, not pulled in different directions. Fully here. You listen, not only to respond, but to understand. You observe not only what is being said, but how it is being said. The tone, the pauses, the subtle shifts in energy. This level of awareness is rare, and because it is rare, it becomes powerful. When you are grounded, you are not easily shaken. Someone may challenge you, test you, or even try to provoke you. But you remain steady. Why? Because you are not attached to reacting. You are anchored in the present moment. You do not chase the conversation. You do not rush to fill silence. You allow things to unfold, and you respond with clarity instead of impulse. Most people lose their grounding when emotions rise. A single word, a certain tone, or a disagreement can pull them out of center. Suddenly, their voice changes, their body tightens, and their mind becomes defensive. In that moment, they are no longer in control. They are being controlled. But when you train yourself to stay present, you notice this shift immediately. You catch it before it takes over. And instead of reacting, you return to stillness. Being grounded is not about being passive. It is not about avoiding expression. It is about being rooted while you express. Your words can be firm, your stance can be strong, but your inner state remains calm. This balance creates respect, because people feel that you are not trying to overpower them. You are simply standing in your truth without losing yourself. Presence also allows you to see what others miss. When your mind is quiet, you notice patterns. You understand intentions. You can sense when someone is speaking from emotion, from fear, or from confidence. This gives you an advantage, not to manipulate, but to respond wisely. You choose your words based on understanding, not assumption. There is also a certain patience that comes with being grounded. You are no longer in a hurry to prove anything. You do not feel the need to interrupt or dominate. You give space, and in that space, people reveal more. The conversation deepens. And because you are fully present, you are able to guide it naturally, without forcing direction. And to build this, you must train your awareness. Notice when your mind drifts. Notice when you become distracted. And gently bring yourself back again and again. This is a practice. It does not happen instantly. But with time, it becomes your natural state. Your body also plays a role. Stand or sit with stability. Relax unnecessary tension. Keep your movements controlled. When your body is grounded, your mind follows. And when both are aligned, your presence becomes undeniable. Understand this clearly. Presence is not something you turn on for a moment. It is something you cultivate as a way of being. The more you practice it in daily life, the stronger it becomes in important moments. Okay? When you are grounded in presence, you do not need to chase control. Control comes to you. Your energy becomes steady, your words become precise, and your impact becomes lasting. Be here fully, and the conversation will follow your lead. Speak with intention, because words are not meant to fill space. They are meant to carry meaning. Most people speak to be heard, not to be understood. They talk quickly, react instantly, and throw words into the air without direction. This creates noise, not influence. And when there is noise, there is no control. You must be different. Before you speak, you must know why you are speaking. Not every thought deserves to become a word. Not every moment requires a response. When you speak without intention, you weaken your presence. But when you choose your words carefully, each one begins to carry weight. This begins with awareness. Notice the impulse to speak. Notice how quickly the mind wants to jump in, to respond, to interrupt. This impulse is often driven by ego, the need to prove, to defend, to impress. But when you are aware of this, you can pause, and in that pause you create clarity. A man who speaks with intention is never in control of others. There will be moments when you feel the urge to speak quickly. When someone challenges you, when emotions rise, when silence feels uncomfortable. In these moments, most people lose intention. They react. They speak without thinking. And once the words are out, they cannot be taken back, but you must remain disciplined. Slow down, return to your breath, let the moment settle before you respond. This does not make you weak. It makes you precise. It shows that you are not controlled by pressure, but guided by awareness. Okay? Speaking with intention also means being clear. Do not hide behind complicated language or unnecessary explanations. Simplicity is strength. When your mind is clear, your words become direct. And when your words are direct, they are understood. At the same time, intention requires honesty, not harshness, not aggression, but truth delivered with control. People respect clarity. They respect someone who can express their thoughts without confusion, without hesitation, without fear. This does not mean you always have to agree. It means when you speak, you stand behind your words. When you speak so purposeful, you will also notice that when you speak with intention, you listen differently. You are not waiting for your turn. You are fully engaged. And because of that, your responses become more accurate, more relevant, more impactful. This is how conversations shift, not through volume, not through speed, but through precision. Each word becomes a tool. Each sentence becomes a direction, and slowly, without force, you begin to lead. Train this daily. In small conversations, in simple moments, practice choosing your words, practice pausing before you speak. Over time, this becomes natural. You will no longer feel the need to fill silence or prove yourself through excessive talking. When your words are guided by intention, they carry a different energy. They are calm, clear, and controlled. And people will not only hear you, they will remember you. Speak less, but make every word count. Listen deeply, because this is where true understanding begins. Most people believe they are listening, but they are only waiting. Waiting for their turn to speak, waiting to respond, waiting to prove a point. Their mind is already forming answers while the other person is still talking. This is not listening. This is distraction disguised as attention. When you listen deeply, you give your full presence. Not just to the words, but to the person behind the words. You hear the tone, you notice the pauses, you observe what is not being said. Because often, what is left unspoken carries more truth than what is expressed. This level of listening requires silence within. If your mind is full of thoughts, judgments, or assumptions, you cannot truly hear. You will filter everything through your own perspective. You will miss the deeper meaning. So the first step is to quiet the noise inside you. Let go of the need to respond immediately. Let go of the need to be right. Just listen. There is a certain discipline in this. When someone speaks, your mind will try to interrupt, to analyze, to prepare. But you must resist this habit. Stay with their words. Stay with their energy. Allow them to fully express themselves without feeling rushed or judged. This creates trust. And when there is trust, the conversation becomes open. Deep listening also gives you clarity. When you truly understand what someone is saying, you do not need to guess or assume. Your response becomes accurate. It becomes relevant. And because of that, it carries more impact. You are no longer reacting to surface-level words. You are responding to the real message. Most conflicts happen Because people do not feel heard. They repeat themselves, they raise their voice, they become frustrated. Not because they want to fight, but because they want to be understood. When you listen deeply, you remove this tension. You allow the other person to feel seen. And in that moment, resistance begins to soften. This does not mean you agree with everything. It means you understand it. And understanding gives you strength, because when you understand, you can choose your response wisely. You can guide the conversation instead of being pulled by it. There is also patience in deep listening. You do not interrupt to finish someone's sentence. You do not rush them to get to the point. You allow the conversation to unfold naturally. This patience shows confidence. It shows that you are not in a hurry to prove yourself. Your body language matters here as well. Maintain steady eye contact. Keep your posture relaxed but attentive. Small gestures, a nod, a calm expression, these signals show that you are present. They encourage the other person to open up more. When you listen deeply, you also become more aware of yourself. You notice your reactions. You notice when something triggers you. And instead of immediately responding, you observe it. This awareness gives you control. You are no longer driven by automatic reactions. This is how influence is built. Not by speaking over others, but by understanding them better than they understand themselves. When people feel truly heard, they naturally become more open to your words. They trust your perspective. They value your input. Train this in every conversation, even the small ones. Practice giving your full attention. Put aside distractions. Be present. Over time, that becomes your strength. Because in a world where everyone wants to speak, the one who listens deeply stands apart. And through that silence, through that awareness, you gain a level of control that words alone can never achieve. Listen fully, and the conversation will reveal its truth. Control your emotions. Because the moment your emotions control you, the conversation is no longer yours. Most people do not lose conversations because they lack intelligence. They lose because they lose themselves. A single word, a certain tone, a moment of disagreement, and suddenly their state changes. Their voice rises, their thoughts become unclear, and their reactions become impulsive. In that moment, they are no longer leading. They are being led by emotion. You must understand this clearly. Emotions are not the enemy. They are natural. They carry information. But if you are not disciplined, they will take over your awareness. And once awareness is gone, control disappears. So the goal is not to suppress emotion. The goal is to remain aware while emotion is present. When you are in a conversation, observe what happens inside you. Notice the tension in your body. Notice the shift in your breathing. Notice the thoughts that begin to accelerate. This is the moment where most people react without thinking. But you must pause. You must return to your center. This is where your training shows. If you have practiced stillness, if you have mastered your breath, you will have the ability to stay grounded even when pressure rises. You will feel the emotion, but you will not become it. There is a difference. One keeps you aware. The other takes you away from yourself. A man who cannot control his emotions becomes predictable. Others can provoke him, manipulate him, push him into reactions that weaken his position. But a man who remains calm cannot be easily shaken. His responses are measured. His presence remains stable. And because of that, he holds the power. There will be moments when your ego feels attacked. When someone disagrees with you, questions you, or challenges your position. The instinct is to defend, to argue, to prove yourself. But this often leads to escalation, not resolution. When you are driven by ego, your goal shifts from clarity to victory. And in that shift, you lose control. Instead, stay aware. Ask yourself, is this reaction necessary? Is this response coming from clarity or from emotion? This simple awareness can prevent many mistakes, because once words are spoken in anger, they cannot be taken back. And they often create consequences that go far beyond the moment. Control also means choosing when to engage and when to remain silent. Not every comment requires a reaction. Not every challenge deserves your energy. Sometimes the strongest response is no response. This is not avoidance. This is discipline. You choose where to invest your energy instead of giving it away freely. Second, your body plays a role here as well. When emotions rise, the body tightens. The shoulders lift, the jaw clenches, the breath becomes shallow. If you allow this to continue, it will intensify your reaction. But if you relax the body, if you slow the breath, you send a signal to your mind, and the intensity begins to decrease. With practice, this becomes easier. You will notice that situations that once triggered you no longer have the same effect. You will remain calm where others become reactive. You will stay clear where others become confused. This is not because you are avoiding emotion. It is because you have trained yourself to remain aware within it. People will feel this. Even in difficult conversations, your calmness will create stability. It will prevent escalation. It will allow space for understanding. And often, it will shift the energy of the entire interaction. This is true strength, not loud reactions, not emotional outbursts, but quiet control. The ability to remain centered when everything around you is unstable. Train this daily, not only in conversations, but in life. Notice your reactions. Observe your patterns. And slowly build the discipline to remain aware, because when you control your emotions, you control your state. And when you control your state, no one else can control you. Use silence wisely, because silence is not the absence of power. It is the refinement of it. Most people fear silence. The moment a pause appears, they rush to fill it with words. They speak not because something needs to be said, but because they feel uncomfortable with stillness. And in that rush, they reveal too much, they weaken their position, and they lose control of the conversation. You must learn to be comfortable in silence, not as a tactic, but as a state of being. When you are silent, you are not empty. You are aware. You are observing. You are allowing space for clarity to arise. This space is where understanding deepens, both for you and for the other person. Silence gives weight to your presence. When you are constantly speaking, your words begin to lose value. They blend into noise. But when you speak and then allow silence to follow, your words settle. They create impact. People reflect on what you said. They feel it more deeply. This is how influence grows, not through constant talking, but through precise expression supported by stillness. There is also strength in knowing when not to respond. Not every statement requires an answer. Not every opinion needs to be challenged. When you respond to everything, you give away your energy. But when you choose silence in the right moment, you maintain control. You decide what deserves your attention and what does not. Silence also reveals truth. When you stop speaking, others often feel the need to fill the space. And in doing so, they reveal more than they intended. They expand on their thoughts, they expose their uncertainties, they show their true position. Choice. This gives you deeper understanding, without you having to ask more questions, but silence must be used with awareness. It is not about withdrawing or avoiding. It is about being present without unnecessary expression. Your body language, your eye contact, your calm presence, all of this communicates even when you are not speaking. This is active silence, not passive absence. There will be moments where silence feels uncomfortable, where you feel the urge to speak just to ease the tension. In those moments, remain steady. Do not escape the discomfort. Stay with it, because often that tension is where the conversation is about to deepen. If you interrupt it with unnecessary words, you break that depth. Silence also protects you from reacting impulsively. When emotions rise, the instinct is to respond immediately. But if you pause, if you allow silence, you create space between the stimulus and your response. In that space, you regain control. You choose your words instead of being driven by emotion. A man who uses silence wisely does not appear weak. He appears composed. His calmness becomes his strength. Others may try to provoke him, to pull him into reaction, but he remains steady. And because of that, he cannot be easily manipulated. Over time, you will notice that silence becomes a tool of clarity. It allows you to think, to observe, to understand. It gives you the ability to respond with precision instead of reacting with haste. And this precision is what creates respect. Train yourself to pause. After someone speaks, take a moment. Let their words settle. Let your thoughts become clear, then respond if a response is needed. This small practice changes the entire quality of your communication. Do not measure your value by how much you speak. Measure it by the impact of your presence, because true control is not in constant expression. It is in knowing when to speak and when to remain still. Use silence and let your presence do the work. Know your value, because if you do not recognize it within yourself, you will unconsciously seek it from others. And the moment you begin to seek validation, you give away your control. Your words become uncertain. Your tone becomes dependent. Your presence begins to adjust itself based on how others respond to you. This is how power is lost, not through lack of ability, but through lack of self-recognition. Look, to know your value is not arrogance, it is clarity. It is the quiet understanding of who you are, what you stand for, and what you bring into any space. It is not something you need to announce. It is something that is felt through your presence. When you truly know your value, you do not need to prove it. You do not need to force it. It shows naturally in how you speak, how you listen, and how you carry yourself. Most people enter conversations with doubt. They question whether their words are good enough, whether they will be accepted, whether they will be respected. This doubt creates hesitation. It weakens their expression, and often it leads them to overcompensate, speaking too much, trying too hard, losing authenticity in the process. But when you know your value, there is no need to rush. There is no need to impress. You are not trying to win approval. You are simply expressing yourself with clarity. This calm confidence changes everything. People can feel it. They sense that you are not dependent on their reaction. And because of that, they begin to respect your presence. Knowing your value also means setting boundaries. You do not allow yourself to be disrespected, but you also do not react emotionally to every challenge. You remain grounded. You choose your responses carefully. You walk away when necessary, not out of weakness, but out of self-respect. This discipline shows strength. There will be moments when others test you. They may question you, disagree with you, or try to undermine you. If you do not know your value, you will feel the need to defend yourself constantly. You will try to prove your worth through arguments and explanations. But this only drains your energy. Instead, remain steady. Not every challenge requires a reaction. Sometimes your silence speaks louder than your words. Silence speaks louder. Sometimes your calm presence is enough to show that you are not affected. This is the difference between reacting from insecurity and responding from confidence. Your value is not determined by how others treat you. It is determined by how you see yourself. If you rely on external validation, your state will always be unstable. One moment you feel strong, the next moment you feel weak. But when your value comes from within, it remains constant. It does not change based on opinions or circumstances. This inner stability allows you to communicate with freedom. You are not afraid to express your thoughts. You are not afraid to disagree. You are not afraid to remain silent when there is nothing to say. Every action comes from a place of self-awareness, not from a need for approval. And to build this, you must spend time with yourself. Understand your strengths, accept your weaknesses. Develop discipline. Keep your word to yourself, because every time you follow through on what you say, you strengthen your self-trust. And self-trust is the foundation of knowing your value. Over time, this becomes visible in everything you do. Your posture becomes more stable. Your voice becomes more grounded. Your eyes become steady. You no longer look for permission to exist in a space. You belong there because you know your worth. And when you enter a conversation with this mindset, everything changes. You are not there to seek approval. You are there to contribute. You are there to express. You are there to understand and to be understood without losing yourself in the process. Know your value, and you will never need to prove it. Now understand this clearly. Owning every conversation is not about controlling others. It is about mastering yourself. Your breath, your presence, your words, your listening, your emotions, your silence, and your sense of value. When these are aligned, you do not need to force anything. Your presence becomes enough. And carry this discipline into every interaction. Train it daily, not only in important moments, but in simple conversations. Because over time, it becomes your nature. You will walk into any space with calm awareness, speak with clarity, listen with depth, and respond with precision. And without effort, you will lead. Remember, the strongest voice in the room is not the loudest. It is the most centered. The one who knows himself cannot be shaken by noise, cannot be pulled by pressure, and cannot be distracted from purpose. Great. So go forward with discipline and awareness. Refine yourself continuously. Let your presence speak before your words, and let your words leave a lasting impact. Good luck on your journey. And thank you